Climbers Brooke and Shawn Raboutou have both sent the boulder Box Therapy, located in the US in Rocky Mountain National Park. With this send, Brooke becomes only the second female to send Box Therapy, following Katie Lamb's recent female first ascent of this boulder. Brooke now joins an exclusive group of only 6 female climbers to have sent V15 or 8C. Now you might say, wait, isn't Box Therapy graded V16 or 8C+? But don't worry, we'll get into all of that. In this video, we'll look at a brief history of Box Therapy, look at what Brooke has to say about this climb, including her thoughts on the grade, and we'll take a look at what Daniel Woods and Katie Lamb have to say about Brooke's incredible accomplishment. Box Therapy has an incredible history. Legendary climber Tommy Caldwell found this granite block nearly 15 years ago. Tommy got to work and established Spread Eagle, V11 or 8A, which is a stand start to the seam that runs along this boulder's 50-degree overhanging face. Box Therapy, on the other hand, was established by Daniel Woods in 2018 and begins further down the seam before transitioning into the start of Spread Eagle with an incredibly difficult campus move. Following Daniel Woods' first ascent of Box Therapy, it saw repeats by Drew Ruana and Sean Bailey in 2020. And then in 2023, Katie Lamb became the 4th climber and the first female to send this boulder, further adding to its difficulty in order to project Box Therapy's 18 powerful, crimpy moves. Climbers can't just roll up in their vehicles. The boulder is located around an elevation of 10,500 feet or 3,200 meters and requires a 7-mile or approximately 11-kilometer hike each way from the park's Wild Basin trailhead. Now let's take a look at what Brooke has to say about this send. On Instagram from October 13th, she writes, "Box Therapy V15. One of the most magical days. Last weekend, I rallied the family and we ventured out into the depths of Wild Basin." So if she's saying last weekend, this likely occurred on October 7th or 8th. She continues, "Shawn and I managed to do the ultimate dream. Sibling send of Box Therapy, same day, back-to-back tries." Wow, that's something that's not likely to happen again anytime soon or perhaps ever. Can we have a category called Sibling First Ascent, SFA? That would be awesome. But anyway, moving on, Brooke continues, "To have our parents behind us, shuffling pads and videoing was the cherry on top. I first touched this boulder in September 2022 and have not stopped dreaming about it since that day. It took me a whole year to get back on it, but in a few sessions, I was able to stand atop one of the most beautiful climbs I've ever done." Shout out to Tommy Caldwell for finding the boulder and putting up the stand, Daniel Woods for the first ascent, and Katie Lamb for recently doing the female first ascent and inspiring me to get back up there. I love seeing that this is a family thing, of course with Brooke's family all being remarkable climbers. And then for her to recognize Tommy Caldwell, Daniel Woods, and Katie Lamb for their contributions is pretty awesome. And this is one of the things I love about the climbing community. Very rarely does someone actually go out all by themselves and project a boulder. Rather, it's this collaborative process to find something, project it, and ultimately send a climb. Now, Daniel Woods originally gave this boulder a grade of V16, and the 3 others who followed him didn't disagree, but let's take a look at what Brooke has to say about the grade. "Grades are tricky because they truly are subjective and can feel different for everyone. Here's my opinion. After chatting with my brother and others who have done the climb, I feel like V15 is an appropriate grade, especially if I compare it to some of the benchmark V15s I've tested. Above all, I am filled with joy and gratitude for my family and the adventures we get to go on together, as well as the surrounding support that continues to push me further." And we've got these great photos here by Finn Stack. And judging from this photo, it must be getting a little chilly out there these days. So Brooke here acknowledges the subjectivity involved in grades and graciously shares her opinion, after having climbed the route, of course, but also after talking with her brother and others who have done the climb. Brooke also has some previous bouldering sends to compare box therapy to, most notably her ascents of the V15 boulders, Trieste, Jade, and Muscle Car. And it appears clear that box therapy is harder than those climbs, but perhaps not so much harder as to be deserving of the V16 grade. She seems not to be overly focused on the grade, however, and instead expresses her gratitude for her family and getting to go on these adventures. I couldn't help but wonder what Danielle Woods and Katie Lamb would have to say about Brooke's accomplishment, as well as their thoughts on her thoughts about the grade. So let's take a look. Danielle Woods shares on his Instagram story. He says, awesome effort at Brooke Raboutou Box Therapy V15/8C. And in small letters here we read, like Brooke stated, grades are subjective and in the end, just a guideline to see how challenging a line is. Sometimes we're off with our initial proposals. That's why consensus is key to have. I do believe box fits into the V15 category, especially after comparing it to other 16s I've tried and done. 15 is still impressive as heck to do. So Woods does agree with Raboutou about box therapy fitting into that V15 category. I like that he notes how important consensus is, and when you have a really hard boulder like box therapy, it can take quite a bit of time to reach that consensus since there are so few ascents of the boulder. So it's a great reminder that grades can and will change over time, especially at this elite level of bouldering. But what I love the most from Danielle Woods' commentary here is to see him say that grades are just a guideline to see how challenging a line is. I mean, regardless of what number is assigned to this problem, it's incredibly challenging and a beautiful line. As for Katie Lamb, she also weighs in saying, Brooke and I first climbed together in 2020 in what also ended up being a pretty magical summer in Colorado. A bunch of the strongest female boulderers were together in one place, and for me it was a moment of realizing this is how we can get to the next level. This is evidence of that level. Arguably the most core boulder problem out there and a manifestation of where women's bouldering has progressed to. Since summer 2020, Brooke's become an Olympic finalist, but I've always admired that she's found time to get outside and apply that progress in different arenas. It's a standard we should all strive for. And of course, big shouts to Shawn Raboutou too for first sibling send or what? So Katie Lamb here doesn't even comment on the grade. She certainly could have reason to comment on the grade, given that she recently sent box therapy and that the climbing community was celebrating her as the first woman to climb V16. Instead, her focus here is on celebrating where women's bouldering has progressed to, and I love that she's doing that. In fact, Brooke Raboutou was one of the first people to congratulate Katie Lamb when she sent box therapy, calling her a literal legend on Instagram. I also agree with Katie Lamb that it's awesome to see someone like Brooke Raboutou, who's known for competition climbing, still take the time to get outdoors and totally crush it. Let me show you one more photo here from Thin Stack. Brooke Raboutou here, it looks like at the start of this boulder problem, perhaps right before her send attempt, and it looks like she's just having a great time out there, enjoying climbing with her family, and casually sending a V15 boulder, and then her brother pulls on right afterwards and does the same thing. So of course, congratulations to Shawn Raboutou as well. If you haven't seen on Shawn Raboutou's YouTube channel, there's a video of him and Brooke doing a killer moonboard session. Definitely go check that out, it's awesome. And here's a video where I talk about Katie Lamb's female first ascent of box therapy. You're gonna enjoy that as well. And hey, my name is August. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.